We are building a 64-acre conservation area right smack dab in the middle of 6.2 million people. That is absolutely remarkable.
Hi, I'm Ralph Tonninger, Associate Director with Toronto and Region Conservation Authority in the Restoration Resource Management Group. I've worked for the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority for 25 years, restoring habitat on Toronto waterfront. Behind me is Lake Ontario, a cold, oligotrophic lake, and highly manipulated, altered, and the water levels are controlled. So part of this project was really how to bring complexity, how to bring structural habitat back into the waterfront areas that have been dramatically changed over the last 100 years. Behind us we have a series of islands that were planned in association with the wetland habitats and all the structural habitat components to really build the full complex of habitat features needed for fish, wildlife, and to create a functional ecosystem. Collectively, we spent tons of time designing these habitat types and structural components to really develop this area as what's known as a biological center of organization, a place where fish, wildlife can reproduce, live, and feed Lake Ontario. We have a whole series of deep water and shallow water components that were built and designed with very specific purpose. And if we roll up into this area here, we'll see as part of Applewood Creek, we really needed to create a new functional habitat zone, a new creek mouth. The unique part of this work here is these are what are known as drowned river mouth habitats or wetlands. And the components of these feed the river system that feed the lake, and they all function collectively together. So fish, wildlife that swim in the lake can move through these channels, use the structural components like the rock shoals, the estuary hooks, the bass spawning shoals, areas where fish and wildlife relate that are complex in structure. One of the key components is wood material, wood that comes down the system but also lands on the shoreline. We've added those components because those become very strong attractants for insects, wildlife, that really build the building blocks to create the unique habitats that we see here. I'm here at the mouth of Applewood Creek at the water control structure into the Applewood Creek wetland. A key aspect of the water control structure here is related to Lake Ontario water levels. Lake Ontario water levels have been managed since the 70s, and we've lost the natural cycle of lake fluctuations. We still see lots of highs, but we don't get the lows anymore. The lake levels are controlled for shipping, with the high levels being in the summer. That has been essentially a nail in the coffin to wetlands on the Great Lakes. So one of the critical aspects is the wetlands, and the mouth of the creek here has been designed with lake level fluctuations in mind, but truthfully with the fluctuations since we've been controlling water levels. The water control structure here at the wetland allows us to manage the lake levels within the wetland if we really need to do it from a maintenance perspective or to improve vegetation growth within the cell. The depths of the wetland are planned and have been designed to relate to these fluctuations. We have a band of emergent zones, so there's very critical depths, but we really need to modify those and manipulate them within the wetland so that in a given year with a high water level, there's an ideal location for emergence to grow. Even during low levels, there will be the prime water depth for fish to hold or to move back out into the lake. The water control structure allows for that control, but it also, a critical aspect is the carp gate aspect of this. The bars have been planned so that it prevents large-bodied carp, sometimes 50-pound carp, from entering into the wetland, but during that same time, pike, bass, other things can freely move back and forth. And it will allow small carp in. However, in the fall, when the water levels go down, those fish can leave the wetland and won't be able to return to that wetland in the following spring. And so we always bring it home, water depth and water elevation is the key. That's the piece that really needs to change and manipulate year after year, and it will create a diverse wetland community.